fuck?
All right, we're back again for part 3. Guess who's splicing? Who's splicing this afternoon? Fuck
Wow.
AT&T Universe. God damn it!
All right.
I
So
mean,
where were we?
you talk about fucking up a wet dream, but anyway, Falling Skies.
Right. So how many seasons of this crap did you watch before you decided you'd had enough?
I think I watched it to the bitter end.
So how many seasons is that?
Falling Skies, please hold. The producer is speaking into my ear as we speak, and she tells me it's 5 seasons.
5 fucking seasons. You watch this shit every week.
52 episodes. 52 episodes.
You watch 52 episodes of this show that you thought was crap from like. Now, here's another example.
Now, wait,
I
wait.
watched.
Now, wait. Now, I like to think, though, I don't think I gave up at some point, so I don't think maybe I watched the end. So I don't know what happened to his character, Noah Wiley's character. I think I gave up.
So maybe let's go 4 seasons. Still, that's
Yes.
what is that? 36 episodes.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Now, this is another example of a show that I watched the pilot, and when the pilot was over, I turned to my husband and said, "I'm not watching this anymore." And he continued to watch it, and you continue to watch it, but sometimes I can just smell the shit coming out of the tube. Sometimes you can just feel the craptacularness of something, and you just don't need to see anymore. I seem to have a better instinct for that than you.
You do. I figure if anything, if you're turning your nose up to it, then that should be a cue to me because you're like open arms to most of this shit. You're
I'll
like
try
one of
it,
those-
sure. I'll try stuff that has an interesting premise, absolutely. But you can only give me so much garbage in the pilot before I decide not to tune into your crap anymore. You know, like when you have people crying and masturbating in the first half an hour of your first episode, that might be a clue that that show isn't for me.
This is actually so depressing, even to be looking at the hours that I put in on this nonsense. I mean, if I'm in the iron lung and I'm going to think back of all the stuff I could have been doing, don't mention Falling Skies to me because it'll be like a heart attack. Any of these shows that I
At
put
least you
hours in,
probably multitasked with it, right? Like you were probably on your tablet at the same time as watching, sort of half-ass watching it.
you know what? There you go. There's the silver lining. You're
Right.
right. So it wasn't. I wasn't giving my full attention to the crap.
Right.
Okay, I can take that. Give me another show, Bill.
Dynasty. Because I loved Dynasty up until the season 5 finale, which was the famous Moldavian massacre, which was sort of their take on the whole Prince Charles and Lady Diana phenomenon. And the whole cast went over to England to shoot the wedding of their daughter, the Carrington's daughter Amanda, to a prince from Moldavia, and there was a coup happening in the country, and so everybody in the cast got like shot down like dogs in the church during the wedding because of the military coup.
Yeah.
And you were left with the season finale cliffhanger was you were left wondering, you know, who died and who survived. Then the show came back for season 6, and after unveiling that basically all the main characters survived, and just sort of like the little ancillary day players were killed off, it just devolved like the whole thing. I mean, Dynasty is a weird animal because it sort of started out very seriously, like as a serious sort of drama, and then they realized the ratings weren't going anywhere, so they decided to embrace the sort of soap opera ishness of it. And they brought on Joan Collins, and she became like the most famous villainess in television history, and amped up the camp factor and had cat fights every week, and became like a super fun soap, and of the very, very, very wealthy. And then after season 5, it just kind of like, I mean, they couldn't really top themselves with the Moldavian massacre, and it just sort of started devolving into stupidness. It went from like campy fun to just like an insult to my intelligence. Like some of the plot twists just got so ridiculous. It went beyond camp and beyond entertainment to just stupid. So I gave up after season 5.
Dynasty made it 9 seasons.
So I made it about halfway through.
When I go to Wikipedia, I love that it has the Moldavian massacre in here.
I mean, it's kind of like, it's one of those big shocker television episodes, I think, for its day.
Yeah, no, I'm reading here that the two minor characters of the series died. Okay, you
Yeah.
said all that. Um,
I
Joan
believe,
Collins was conspicuously absent from the season 6 opener. She was in a tense contract renegotiation with the show, seeking an
right.
increased salary.
I
As a
remember
result, the
that.
first episode had to be rewritten to explain her absence, and many Alexis's scenes were given to Crystal. Collins' demands were met. She signed a $60,000 per episode contract, and she returned to the series in the season's second episode. Despite Collins' absence, the first episode of the season 6 garnered a 28.1 rating, becoming the most watched episode of the series, as viewers wanted to see who survived the season 5 cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But then everything started to decline shortly thereafter.
Yeah. That's pretty accurate.
Interesting, huh? The Moldavian Massacre. Did you enjoy the Moldavian Massacre?
Oh, it was the best. I mean, talk about a cliffhanger. I mean, talk about a wedding from hell. These people were all like over in this foreign country going to this most glamorous, like Prince Charles, Lady Di level wedding, and they just got slaughtered like pigs. I mean, that's probably the best series cliffhanger ever. I mean, talk about a cliffhanger.
So afterwards, when you came back, you said you made it to season 5. So that means you had to start did you start season 6?
I started
you
season
just
6,
like,
and then it just got dumb as hell, like in the first 2 or 3 episodes. So I think I quit watching probably halfway through season 6.
Yeah, you're kind of hardcore with this, huh? You weren't giving it a little bit of play, not a little bit
No,
of leeway, a little
once
bit like
it stops becoming fun for me, then what is the point? That's how I looked at it. If it's not fun for me to watch it every week, it doesn't take long for me to figure out this isn't fun anymore. You know what I mean? Like you're watching it and you're going, but this just doesn't feel right. It feels off. So I'll give them a couple episodes to pull their shit together, and then if they can't, off they go. This is the same thing that happened with Empire. That's probably the last one I dumped unceremoniously. We watched the first season of Empire, and I used to laugh and holler at you about how crazy kooky Cookie was with her outfits and stuff, and it was like the new Dynasty. And then season 2 happened, and it was like, the fun's gone. I'm out.
If I would have treated our friendship like you treat some of these shows, I would have got rid of you back in 1986.
Yeah, that's how you treat your movies. You treat them like whores. They're all whores.
All right, I only got 2 more shows to go, but my last show before my last one. Does that make any more sense? The last one before the last one?
It's your penultimate. Yes.
American Gods. I made it to about 3 episodes, maybe 1.5, maybe 2, of the show that appeared. What was it, on Stars? It was on Stars.
Yeah, because remember
it was based on Neil Gaiman's book.
Right.
Now, this is one of those shows that I was gearing up for, like with most things. I'm getting my Chipotle on a Sunday night. I'm ready to fire up something that seems to be cool material. Modern gods, old gods, hanging out. It's going to be like a Game of Thrones extravaganza. Like, this just sounds like some cool shit.
Right.
Now, I always said with Neil Gaiman stuff, it's a little bit dense, and I'm not sure how it's going to translate. But I was expecting big things. It seemed like cool characters. You're going to have Odin. And anyway, the execution of it was clunky. It was tiresome. It was meandering. And most of all, I just didn't care. Now, they were trying to be shocking. And I don't say when they want to try to be shocking. I think Neil Gaiman wrote some things on paper that seemed to be shocking, like the one lady who swallows people's through her cooch. Okay, but these things might be cool, but I think
that's when I was out with that show. Honestly, when the guy shrunk down into the lady's vagina and she sort of ate him with her vag, I think I was done.
That was it for you?
That was it for me. I don't know why these weird ass sexual things are supposed to be somehow edgy or cool. Listen, we're all adults here. Everybody's had sex, okay? I don't understand why interesting depictions of sex have to involve people's vaginas eating people.
Well, that's the god creature. That's what she does. She's like the Black Widow, Bill. That's her thing.
I get it. Okay, fine. It just the visual presentation of it for me just felt crass and disgusting.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, even so much, my sensibilities, the crass, that wasn't a problem for me. It was everything else around it, the direction, the production, the writing of it, the presentation of it. It just fell flat. Something that should be, it's like, how can you fuck up American Gods? Just the title alone. It should just be coolness walking on the screen. I should be like mesmerized. And no. And the worst part about it is, I gave Falling Skies like 4 seasons. I gave Walking Dead more than a couple seasons. I gave American Horror Story 10 episodes, and then a few more after that one because I wasn't really sure if it was really that craptacular. But this American Gods, this is all shiny and brand new. I mean, it's a brand new car, Bill. It's fresh. It's fresh. It's got new production values. It's on the heels of this new age. I gave it like 2 episodes.
Yeah, that's about the same amount of time I gave it because, again, for once in your life, you finally decided to smell the shit turds that were popping off your TV screen and decided to give it the fuck up. Good for you.
You know what? I hope I'm growing like you to a degree that maybe at some point in time I can cut things short here and like move on. And I'm trying to, like, there's certain movies now, like if it smells bad, I just have to get rid of it and trust my instinct to move on.
Yes.
If there's a middle of the road, I'll follow through on it.
Because life is too short to be doing some shit that you're not enjoying, especially with your fucking free time. When you're down off of work, you're not worried about doing your thing, earning your living and earning your keep and shit. The last thing you want is to feel like you're fucking working when you're not even on somebody's goddamn time clock. Fuck that. If I have to fucking work to watch a TV show, I don't understand why that's supposed to be my entertainment. That's not entertaining to me. Which brings me to my final show and my most disappointing show of all time ever.
Wait. Is it mine too, or is it a different one?
I don't know. It's Twin Peaks for me.
It's Twin Peaks for me. So we'll end it on that one then. Go for it.
Twin Peaks is it's just sad and depressing when I think about it because, I was so excited about the return of this show that I loved 27 years ago. It was a weird amalgamation of like a soap opera and a murder mystery, and it was full of this crazy, quirky characters, and it really kept you tuning in week after week, partially because you wanted to see, who the killer was, but even after the killer was revealed, you grew to sort of love the quirkiness of the characters that were beamed into your living room every week. And you sort of grew to care about what happened to them and wanted to see, their stories played out. And then we come to 27 years later and the hype starts building. And actually it started building before this because there was a big brouhaha when David Lynch originally said he was going to come aboard the show. Then he left the show, supposedly over salary with Showtime, and then they finally gave him more money, and he was in, and it was 18 episodes, all to be directed by David Lynch, and the fans went nuts for it because, the original run of the series, a lot of people's complaints about season 2 of the original show was that David Lynch at one point left the show, and people sort of felt like the show fell apart after he left. So to have him locked in for the full season was like everybody's fan dream come true. And then, you start watching it, finally, and you start realizing that Twin Peaks, The Return is what they called it, bared very little resemblance to the original show called Twin Peaks. And the only real through line of the show was the return of Agent Dale Cooper, who, in the first couple episodes of the show loses his memory and takes on another identity of some kind of like idiot savant character that, barely resembled the original Agent Dale Cooper. And all of the characters that were major players in the original show were sort of trotted out as just trophies and really didn't have any type of storylines whatsoever. They were barely ever in the episodes. And then you've got all these new characters that are just doing things that are so outside of Twin Peaks. For a show called Twin Peaks: The Return, they probably spent 1/3 or 1/4 of the airtime of the episodes in the actual town of Twin Peaks itself, because there were all these weird ass things happening all over the globe, everywhere except Twin Peaks. Las Vegas, they went to South Dakota. There was storylines in New York. It just felt like everything I loved about the show was everything David Lynch did not bring back to the damn show. And it barely resembled Twin Peaks, and for that reason alone, I would be angry about it, but I'm more angry about it because they trotted out all of the original characters on the cover of Entertainment Weekly magazine and sort of led you to believe that you would be getting more of the same, or more of the same types of stories that the original show brought you. But David Lynch did his David Lynch thing, which is to sort of go just make an art project and not necessarily worry about through lines of stories that are coherent from one point to another. Linear storytelling is something he doesn't really do anymore. And I just hated it. Every minute of the 13 episodes, just about, that I watched out of 18. I gave up after 13 because I just couldn't sit there and watch it anymore.
I watched all 18 episodes from beginning to end. Not all on Sunday night. I was going to have a Game of Thrones, Twin Peaks, Chipotle festival, hootenanny. But Twin Peaks got bumped to Monday morning over breakfast while I'm sitting there, doing what I do, washing dishes. It's on in the background. I kudos to Showtime for getting about $33 out of me. I still have Showtime for another 2 weeks. I canceled my subscription the day after I watched the last episode. Kudos to also them paying for all the other people who were out there writing glowing reports from each episode of how David Lynch is really setting the bar high. He's changing the game. I don't know where they found those trolls, but every time they came up on my news feed, I just spit out my food going, they're not watching the same thing I'm watching.
Virtually every major TV critic on my Twitter feed was creaming themselves over the end of that show, or the whole show actually, but especially the end.
Yeah. I've never seen anybody actually take something of being a continuation of a season, all the best parts, and then just sort of gutting them. You had this impression that we were going to continue this great storyline of these characters and where they're at, and you've got the whole Entertainment Weekly ad, and it's not like they downplayed this. And these characters that we were raised up on for these 2 seasons made these half-ass 2-minute, 1-minute appearances, said some lines, and then disappeared. And we've dealt with this whole new world of characters that had no, history or basis. And it's not like we got to know a lot about them, because a part of this whole season was a lot of imagery, a lot of slowness, a lot of band playing, a lot of pieces that seemed to me that thrown up on the wall, and then you're supposed to figure out and connect them up for the other previous seasons. It just was a total hodgepodge of a mess. And I felt like somebody sold me. It's like a bait and switch job, Bill. It's a bait and switch.
It's the worst bait and switch in the history of television, as far as I'm concerned.
And you can't tell me, with all these critics sitting here going, part of the reason that made Twin Peaks so charming in these early seasons was Kyle MacLachlan's character, Dale Cooper. A little bit of charm, intelligence, kookiness, all wrapped up. And then you've got the craziness of Twin Peaks. We have Dale Cooper in and of itself being an invalid for 16 episodes, damn near. And we only get him back for the 2. And then once again, like with everything else, he's really only around for probably about 20 minutes anyway. And that's how we ended.
Well, they didn't bring Audrey back until the 12th episode. Yes. And then barely brought her back at all.
Right. But these characters really never advance. I mean, there is there was one good character interaction between what's her name, the one with the eye patch, is that Norma?
Nadine.
What's her husband's name? Ed.
Ed.
Ed got the woman he's been waiting to get with fully. That I felt that was very touching, and I felt there needed to be more of the old characters. To be quite honest with you,
But
I don't
between
feel like
those
this was like a Force Awakens where we need to transition from the old to the new. I don't think that was what it needed to be. But what it was just something that it really was disappointing, and I felt like David Lynch took us on a ride. And there is no way I would go back for like a season 4 or anything else. Like it just won't happen for me. I'm out.
I mean, there was.
It would only go back if somehow somebody told me we're going to pick up actually where season 2 left off, and we've got a new management team in, and I might consider it. But otherwise, that one's the hurtful the most, because I was really looking forward to seeing that. I love Fire Walk with Me, one of my favorite movies. I love some of David Lynch's work, Mulholland Drive, Lost Highway. There's some great movies he's done. But this here, I just don't know. It's almost like I feel like he's laughing at me.
It's actually turned me off of the whole series. It's actually sort of, and I hate to be one of those fanboys that screams about people raping my childhood or whatever, but it's actually turned me off of Twin Peaks from my love of the original. I sold my entire box set. I sold Fire Walk with Me. I just want to put this. It's so distasteful and bothersome to me that David Lynch would take this show that had earned my love over 2 seasons and deliberately turn it into what he's turned it into, which he has every right to do as a creator. He has a right to make whatever kind of art he wants. But also as a fan and as a person who wants to view or partake in that art, I also have the right not to like it. And it just wasn't what I wanted or felt like I wanted to be invested in as far as the continuation of this show. There was so much time wasted on so much stupid shit. Like, I think about the episode where the show ended with the guy sweeping the floor in the bar for 5 minutes. That's just one glaring example of but they did that shit all throughout the show, where they would have these characters that were not connected to anything at the end of the episodes in the Roadhouse bar, talking about other characters that we have no idea who they're referencing or why they're talking about it or why the characters are being shown discussing stuff. Anyway,
I will say though, you sent me an article that was somebody's theory about explaining everything that happened in Twin Peaks and maybe the meaning behind everything we watched for 13, 8 episodes.
Right.
I read it.
Yeah.
And the worst part about it is I read it, I still didn't care. This is an interesting theory. I read it. I go doppelgangers, tulips, and this here creature being that. I was like this. Yeah. Usually sometimes I like to go back and read things like The Matrix or other movies, and it brings some sort of extra joy to me to be like, oh, I missed that. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't make that connection. This here, didn't care. I wasn't trying to connect. I felt as though it's too much, and I felt like he's trying to be some sort of Pollock painting. This is his way of I know David Lynch is into painting and doing this thing. I felt like this was what it was. I'm giving you a whole bunch of images here and there, and then you almost have to look at it and kind of figure things out. I don't need to be spoon-fed shit, but it just was it's too dense. And even after watching season 2 of Fire Walk with Me, I mean, Bill, listen, I'm not what's his name, Stephen Hawking, but this is some bullshit here. Okay? It's just bad. I don't know how else to say it. It's just bad. I don't know. I fast forwarded through the last 2 episodes because I wanted to sort of see the culmination of what they were going through or going for. So 17 and 18, I think, maybe part of 16. But I just didn't want to sit through all of the mind-numbing sort of cameras focused on tree for 5 minutes or whatever. So, but I did want to sort of see the end. And then, once the way they resolved the whole Bob situation with a character that sort of starts in
like the latter part of the series that's not related to any other major character in the show being the one to sort of take out Bob. That's just like, it's just bizarre. It's just like, why would you do that? Why would you take the main villain of the character of the story and have him be defeated by some like 5 sentence day player?
Crewman number 6. Is that who defeated him?
Yeah, it's like
Boom mic operator number 1.
Yes, it's like, why would you do that? I mean, you know, we've waited for the entire season for Dale Cooper to sort of come and be the hero that we remember him being, and then he shows up as sort of like a standalone to a kid that's wearing a magic green rubber glove and was destined to be the destroyer of the great evil Bob. It's such a mess. It's just all such a mess. I'm just really heartbroken over it.
Okay. Bill, let's get this. I don't use the sound effects that much, but let's just get this out of our system. The 5 most disappointing TV shows, at least for episode 52.
Was that Laura Palmer screaming at the end of the series? That sounded pretty close.
That's highly appropriate. That's actually right on the money.
That was actually very good.
Okay. All right. You know what, Bill? We're going to wrap this up because who knows how long I'm going to have the fucking internet. What do you think about that?
That's fine.
Are you good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Well, let's see here. It's time for box office receipts. It's the weekend of September 8th through the 10th. It's already September, Bill. Fall shows are coming up here. Maybe for our next episode, we can do some like the upcoming fall TV season, maybe.
That's cool, because there's only one show I'm even interested in watching.
Okay, maybe we'll just do a little bit on that. Maybe a little 5-minute bit on that then. Okay. Anyway, the number 1 show for this weekend is It. Breaking all sorts of horror records.
I saw that. I saw that it's. I don't know why is this story so successful? Like, it's a remake of a TV movie, which was a adaptation of a book. I never knew that it was like that popular, or it hasn't been. You know, I knew it was popular when we were kids, but it certainly hasn't been in part of the lexicon since the TV movie came out. Like in the, was it late 80s? Early 90s?
Well, I think what we had, let's just say here, domestically, it brought in $117 million.
That's a lot of money for a horror movie.
By the way, the budget for it was $35 million.
I mean, yeah, that's a smash hit. But why? I don't understand why. Why do you suppose this movie has been so wildly successful?
It brought also $80 million in overseas, so it's close to damn near $200 million. I would say for myself, remember we had this discussion when we were talking about YouTube views and how it was in that list of YouTube views. I put it down for a couple reasons. Outside of it being popular, I think this is the whole idea of when it came out, it had like the TV production values and it had Tim Curry. Yeah. And I think this is like the whole thing, like having a old movie. How do I want to say this, Bill? It's like having something in the 80s.
So you're saying it was like refreshed with the right amount of money.
You don't have the technology, and it's an update, and this one's a little bit more. The whole idea is that it's actually more serious. Like, not that.
But that clown just looks stupid. Is it just me, or does that clown look stupid?
I think the clown looks stupid when you put it in the context of photos, and when the photos keep going, isn't this the scariest thing you've ever seen? I think that's a stupid way to play it. But I think the way I feel like with the marketing and the way it's showing to me is like this creature is actually going to be doing something that's actually terrifying, and we're not going to shy away from it like maybe the older version did. Like, we're going to take it head on. And so it kind of I think, to me, the appeal is this is going to be more of a serious take on it. It's almost taken like the Fantastic Four movie that was all comedy and then trying to make it something else. I think it was too soon, but that's what the people would want. I mean, it's almost. I feel like the time for it was at hand, like the
What
remake,
does this
refresh.
clown do that's so horrifying that they couldn't put it in the TV movie, but they were able to put
Oh
it in
well,
a
you know,
rated
you know
R
what it is.
movie?
I guess I don't want to say how I want to say it is that I think let's look it up here. Why am I talking? The problem is I'm
Well, you
holding
read the book,
Ferguson.
didn't you?
Yeah, I did the audiobook.
Oh, okay. And
And
you
actually
saw the original,
I didn't really actually find that to be that great, to be quite honest with you.
and you saw
Uh,
the original TV movie, right?
I did. It was 1990.
Okay.
Um, so it's what 10, 27 years.
Right. Well, 27 years. Same amount of time as Twin Peaks.
Okay. Well, I think it's just that time. You know, like
But well, I guess I just don't understand. Like, I I don't understand what's so horrifying about this clown. Like, does it eat your guts out or something? What is it that this clown does that is
I don't
so
think that
horrifying?
I don't think that in and of itself, like the violence, like it's got to sit there and be like he's chopping off heads. It's just that there's just a lot of creepiness. You know how he appears, the thing he says, where he's at. It's supposed to be more creepy, sort of like The Ring. It's designed to be creepy, not
Yeah, but the
so much
fucking
like
ring looks
Friday the
goddamn
13th.
scary. That bitch in the ring would scare the shit out of me if I saw her coming, out of my TV. This clown, I just want to go, really? I'm supposed to be like, oh my god, it's so scary. It's so, I can't, I'm
Well,
gonna
you
have
look at
nightmares
Tim
about this clown.
Curry's. I found that Tim Curry's Pennywise was just fine because I felt like when we had this argument that the clown in and of itself should be more open, like and friendly, and then turn terrifying, as opposed to looking at you like, by the way, I'm supposed to be scary. Like, but I feel whatever it is that this might work for me. But either way,
Well,
Bill,
it's working for audiences and it's working for critics, and that's a rare thing with a horror movie, um, or something that's sort of this popular. So it's obviously hitting all the right notes that the people who made it wanted it to hit. So, I mean, it must be doing something right.
I'm glad. I'm happy for it because this is what I want to see in my horror movies. Like this is the idea of it at least. But anyway,
But
let's move on.
again,
Number
people are
two.
always like, remakes, reboots, whatever, and they bitch and moan and
But
complain. But then they make one like this, and then I guess it's okay, or maybe it's
but
an
the thing,
improvement. I don't know.
it's about 27 years, and it's a different take. In my opinion, I feel like it's a different take. It's we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it a little bit. It's like we're taking a comedic version of a superhero, and we're actually going to treat it more seriously. I think that appeals to people who are like this. I don't. Why is Superman in a comedy? Why is he quipping? I don't want my Superman. I want my Superman to be like the Dark Knight. It's like Batman. You know, all of a sudden you can have him going from George Clooney in the nipple suit to the Dark Knight. It's time. People are like, I listen. I understand that you can like both, but maybe there was this is the whole idea that this is a little bit different and more in tune of what people wanted to see.
Okay.
All right, number two movie is Home Again
Is that
with
like
Reese Witherspoon.
okay? Uh,
It pulled
I don't
it
think I've
pulled in
heard.
$9 million.
So unless you were it, no one saw anything else this weekend apparently
No,
because you went from
no,
117 million to 9.
yeah. It took all the money.
Yeah, it
It took all the
it
money.
it wins the box office. It destroys everything else. This can go on for all day. This is a perfect
Yeah,
title.
yeah. Number three
Wow.
movie is The Hitman's Bodyguard. It pulled in another $5 million, bringing its total domestically to 64 million.
That doesn't seem
Um,
like a lot.
it cost 30 million to make.
That's cheap
So
considering that there's two big stars in it. I would think Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson would have cost $30 million by themselves.
yeah, well, maybe Samuel Jackson's not commanding as much anymore.
Maybe.
Maybe he's being aged out. Either way, the number 4 movie is Annabelle Creation.
Isn't that a Blumhouse thing?
Special?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the budget for that Annabelle Creation was $15 million.
27 cents. I'm sorry.
It's now worldwide take is $280 million.
Okay, right. So yeah, basically, again, they crushed the budget.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody's eating at the Sizzler all they can eat this weekend. The number 5 movie is Wind River, with your boy Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen and John
Wow.
Bernthal.
So these are all 3 of them are Marvel stars, and it apparently goes to show that they might, be great supporting players, and maybe they're big shit on Netflix, but they're not exactly Chris Evans and the Hemsworths.
The movie's been out for 6 weeks, Bill. I guess the budget is $11 million. It's pulled in $25 million, so I guess it's not a complete loser.
No, when you make, a movie for $10 million, then it's kind of hard to fuck that up.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. There we go. I don't feel like I really explained why I think it was maybe a hit there. I'll think about that some more.
Okay.
I think it's time. I mean, 27 years, I feel like it's a different take on the original It. At least it has the appearance of it because I haven't seen it. And I think
here's what I don't understand.
And let me also put it that some of these movies are just cool. Like It in and of itself is just a cool concept. And I think it's like the remake of like a Shining. Like the reason why you have these remakes, I think, is because the bones of that type of film still resonate with people. So when you remake it, it's just kind of saying like this is something that people want to see, and so let's redo it. It's like why would you reboot Spider-Man? Because Spider-Man is just a cool ass fucking character. So we just want to keep him around. Same with Superman. Let's do a different take on it. Let's try this here. It's always going to have a connection with the fan in terms of horror. I think this is one of those type of films that if you do it a certain way, I think people would go see it. And I mean, you could tell by the YouTube views. I mean, but it's not rocket science here. It's not like hardcore facts. But there was some excitement after watching the trailer. Clearly, that's something that people saw and were looking at it, going, "This seems very different and very cool." You're not giving me Tim Curry, I'm just laughing clown, looking like it's some bozo shit from Ronald McDonald back in the '80s. You're giving me like some updated things.
It still doesn't look scary. I mean, it doesn't look like Tim Curry, looks like Bozo the Clown, true. But if you said to me, and we did discuss this when the picture was first released of the new Pennywise, I thought he looked a little silly. And I don't know, it just didn't really strike fear into my heart or whatever. The emotion that they were probably going for with me, it didn't happen. I do think it's interesting that we have a year in which 2 Stephen King properties are released from months apart. First one was The Dark Tower, which made 50 cents. And this one is a remake of a TV movie that made, googobs of money. Just based on the Stephen King name alone, I would think The Dark Tower would have drew in more of an audience. I didn't see it myself, so I don't know. But and then there's another Stephen King movie coming out this year on Netflix. Are you going to watch Gerald's Game? Now, that's one Stephen King book I actually did read, even though I haven't read most of them. I did read that book, and it looks interesting. I don't know if I'll be interested for 2 hours, but have you ever read Gerald's Game, and have you seen the trailer for the Netflix movie?
I have not. I have heard of it, and yes.
So, yes,
watching it.
You will be watching it. Okay. Okay.
Just by the way of comparison here, that The Dark Tower only made total worldwide $107 million.
Yeah, and in its opening weekend, domestically alone, it made more than that.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. Of the 2 movies, I would have wanted to see
any big stars in it. You got Mott McKinnon. Yeah. Okay. All right, Bill. Let's fire this up here. I'm going to have to do some splicing here. Do some splicing. All right. Well, I appreciate your patience here. You got
Sorry you have to splice, but
oh
perhaps
no,
you
no.
should call AT&T and complain.
Listen, I've gotten much better at it, so
Okay.
no worries here. I got my dog here. I'm petting him like what's that? Austin Powers pets the cat. Petting
Right.
him Supervillain in the studio.
Dr. Evil.
Yeah, I'm glad you have the rest of the day to yourself.
Me too.
So we'll be chatting tomorrow sometime. Have a good evening. Anything
All right,
else?
you
Watch
too.
anything else tonight?
I think we're going to go back and watch some more of those episodes of the Clone Wars, which I still recommend for you to watch.
Okay. All right. I don't know what I'll be watching tonight. I think I have one Netflix movie that I've had in my house for like over 3 weeks now.
Really?
So
Why don't you just send it back?
I know. I keep looking at it going, I just don't, it seems like it's like a period piece. I'm just not getting
Wow.
All right. Bill, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, as always.
This is the Popular Cinema Podcast. I've been your co-host, Payne.
I'm Bill.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Peace out, people.
Bye.
Thank you.